I have nothing to do with Russia. John, how many times do I have to say it? Are you a smart man? I have nothing to do with Russia. I have nothing to do with Russia.
I'd like to talk to you about Trump Tower Moscow. You said that this deal stood to make Trump more money than any other deal in his life. And Mueller's team has also noted that it would make him potentially hundreds of millions of dollars. That seems to be significantly more than other similar deals that he's made or licensing deals. Why do you think that this deal with the Russians would have been so much more lucrative for Trump?
That's a very good and important question. Donald Trump really isn't in the business of building anything anymore. He puts his name on buildings. It's a licensing arrangement. You don't make that kind of money normally with a licensing arrangement. Now, one of the things that we do know about the Russians and how they operate, they use various tactics. They have a playbook on how they influence public policy in other countries. Sometimes they do it by hacking documents and publishing them, as they did against Hillary Clinton. Sometimes they do it by social media campaign. This internet research agency operating out of St. Petersburg will flood social media attacking one candidate or helping another, as they did in the presidential campaign. Sometimes they use their financial leverage, and that could take the form of building gas pipelines, or it could take the form of threatening to cut off fuel supplies, or it can take the form of bribing members of parliament or engaging in business transactions with influential business people. Some of those business transactions are legal, some are very illegal. So they use their money strategically. Was the motivation on the Russian end of this transaction to influence a candidate for president of the United States, to dangle riches in front of him? After all, during the campaign, the candidate, Donald Trump, was denying any business relationship with Russia while he was secretly trying to get the Kremlin's help. Now, of course, the Kremlin knew this was happening, even though the American people did not. The Kremlin knew that he wanted their help. The Kremlin knew that he was motivated intensely by money, intensely by what people thought of his net worth. And so this was leverage that the Russians might use. And so we are very much interested in exactly that question. Why was this deal going to be so lucrative? What involvement did the Kremlin have? And is this the explanation for this otherwise inexplicable policy of the president of catering to Vladimir Putin? The president is often, deeply deceptive, but there are other times where he is also surprisingly transparent. And there was that occasion when it was first revealed that Michael Cohen's testimony was false, that the deal didn't end in January, continued through much of the presidential campaign, and Donald Trump was asked about it, and his answer was, I might have lost the campaign. Why should I miss out on all that money? Translation, all those hundreds of millions. Why should I miss out on that? Well, it may very well be that that's still the president's attitude. That whenever I leave and maybe I lose re-election, I still want that money. And if I'm going to get that deal, I know that I can't afford to alienate Vladimir Putin. And that's why you're never going to hear Donald Trump say a bad word about Vladimir Putin. That may be the explanation. We are trying to find out.
What is his role in this saga, and what do you hope to learn from him?
Well, he was a party to this transaction. He was the main interlocutor with Michael Cohen. So he was in touch with the people in Russia, as indeed was Michael Cohen. And he can shed a lot of light on who was he dealing with and what were they telling him and who was on the other side of this transaction. So I think there's a lot that he can tell us. We have interviewed him in the past, but we'll have an opportunity to do so now, knowing more than we did at the time.
So it's possible that you'll be finding out a lot more of the players in the Trump Tower Moscow deal, and the public will as well.
Yes, certainly the public will, and we hope to as well. We have a fair amount of this information already, but again, there's a great deal we don't know that we hope to learn when we have him back in.